LSU is one step closer to landing the number one cornerback in America. Phil Steele has his SEC quarterback rankings. You're not going to like it. And a great honor for the great Paul Skenes. It's a Monday edition of Locked on LSU. Let's get it.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU. I'm your host, Matt Moscona, and we are thrilled to have you aboard with us here as we start a new week, and we got a ton to delve into. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. So please subscribe either on your favorite podcast app, YouTube, smash that like button, and we're glad to have you aboard with us here. We got a lot to delve into today. We will get to Paul Skenes and Angel Reese doing work. We'll also get to Phil Steele's quarterback rankings for the SEC. Garrett Nussmeier far lower than what many of you may have thought. We'll get to that here shortly. But I want to start with some news on the recruiting trail. As the number one cornerback in America, DJ Pickett has eliminated one of his contenders. We are brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So if you're not really into the recruiting scene, that's fine. No judgment here. You do you. Go live your life. There's many people who cover recruiting and do it at a great job and at a high level. And so love to share the information when we have it. And on Sunday, DJ Pickett, who's out of Florida, he's the number one cornerback in America. DJ Pickett, who had been down to 4 schools, eliminated Georgia from his list of finalists. So it is now 3 finalists for DJ Pickett, who's going to announce on July 17th. He is from the state of Florida, and he's got in-state school Miami. Oregon, who just recently had an official visit from DJ Pickett and has kind of been the one gaining momentum. And then there's LSU. And LSU, if you go look at the On3 recruiting predictor machine, LSU is still the odds-on favorite to land DJ Pickett at 27.9%, followed by Miami at 14.3%, then Georgia, who's now been eliminated, and Oregon down at 8.8% odds. But remember, Oregon had the last official visit, and there's a lot of momentum building toward Oregon potentially landing DJ Pickett. Well, he's going to announce coming up in a little more than a week, in 9 days to be exact, on July the 17th. We'll all be at SEC Football Media Days when that happens. And Shea Dixon over at On3, the Bengal Tiger, caught up with DJ Pickett. And one of the things that Pickett said is what caught my attention the most. And it was the conversation and the comments DJ Pickett had about LSU cornerbacks coach Corey Raymond. And I want to bring this up because there is a sentiment among LSU fans, and I know this sentiment existed whenever Corey Raymond was rehired by Brian Kelly. And the sentiment is that Corey Raymond has passed his prime, that he's no longer the recruiter or the defensive backs coach that he once was. And I think that's fundamentally absurd. You don't forget how to coach. You don't forget how to flip your hips and turn and run and motivate young people. Pete Jenkins, who's 82 years old, just came in and sort of rescued LSU's defensive line at the midpoint of last season after the Ole Miss debacle. Pete Jenkins, still to this day, every single year in the spring, has a tour of schools that pay him, and he goes to all these different schools to coach the coaches, essentially as a consultant. I hate to say it that way, but he goes to Georgia and Alabama and Kentucky and Oregon and all over the LSU and all over the country, Oklahoma, and coaches. Like, he didn't forget how to coach, and neither did Corey Raymond. And I don't think Corey Raymond forgot how to recruit either. And I know at the end of the Ogeron era, when the secondary wasn't great, and the transition into the Brian Kelly era, a lot of people have laid that at the feet of Corey Raymond. And the point that I would tell you is the reason that happened is all of your good players left. Elias Ricks transferring, Dwight McGlothern transferring out, Cordell Flott leaving early for the draft. You just had an exodus of the talent that had been here, that had been accrued and accumulated by Corey Raymond. And he never had a great relationship or rapport with Billy Napier, didn't want to be at Florida, never wanted to leave LSU. And he's back home where he is, and he's going to build LSU secondary back up. I have no doubt of it. But you don't have to take my word for it. DJ Pickett spoke to Shea Dixon over at On3. I want to read this quote. There's a couple of quotes that are really interesting. Quote, this is DJ Pickett, the number one cornerback in America. Quote, me and Coach Raymond, me and his relationship is like no other. I feel he cares for me even when I am not committed to the team or a school yet. He is just a person who really cares for me and someone I feel I can go to about anything. Went on to say, I liked LSU before Raymond even got there. But once he left Florida and he went to LSU, it was a no-brainer to go visit and see how everything is. He said, once I visit, I would love it. Went on to talk about everything that he loved about LSU, about Blake Baker, about the food, a lot of things like that. But the point is, here's the number one cornerback in America who has LSU among his final three and has LSU among his final three for one primary reason. Corey Raymond. So we will see if LSU is able to land DJ Pickett, and I don't know if they will. Again, I'm not a recruiting guy. I'm not calling DJ Pickett or his high school coach or his parents and to try to figure out who he might commit to, and we'll see. But the reason LSU is one of the three finalists and Georgia, who's been the best program in college football over the last half decade, is because you got Corey Raymond. And Corey's going to start getting the big fish in the boat, just like we've seen him do before. The interesting thing specifically is when you look at On3's top 50 cornerbacks in America for the class of 2025, the top 50, only 10 of them are uncommitted. 40 of the 50 have committed. 10 are uncommitted at this point. 2 of them are DJ Pickett, the number one cornerback in America, and Jabari Antoine, the number 6 cornerback in America. And according to On3's recruiting prediction machine, LSU leads for both of them. I know there's a lot of angst around this program right now and wondering if LSU is going to start building up that secondary and they need to get numbers in this class. There aren't that many guys out there remaining, and I understand all that. But if LSU gets to the December signing period and DJ Pickett and Jabari Antoine ink in this class, you have a dramatically different feeling about the future of LSU secondary. And let's be very honest. If we run through the players that LSU has signed and lost, the top cornerbacks they've signed in their last handful of classes, I'll spell it out for you. You'll understand the disparity between when Corey Raymond was here and when he wasn't. You realize in the class of 2024, LSU's most recent signing class, the highest rated cornerback signing was Juwan Johnson, the number 27 cornerback in America. In 2023, the highest rated cornerback that LSU signed was Jeremiah Hughes, a 3-star from Las Vegas, the number 47 cornerback in America. You want to keep going? Brian Kelly's first year. Remember, no Corey Raymond. Highest ranked cornerback signee, LaTerrence Welch, the number 21 cornerback in America. Corey Raymond's last class, 2021. Demarius McGee, the number 9 cornerback in America. Now, McGee was here for a year and left. Before that, 2020, Eli Ricks, number 1 cornerback in America. Before that, Derek Stingley, the number 1 cornerback in America. Before that, Kelvin Joseph, who we know his situation, the number 8 cornerback in America. You get my point? Whole lot of top 10 guys at that position coming to play for Corey Raymond. And since then, you've gotten the number 27, 47, and 21 ranked cornerbacks in America. It's not the same. And we could look at what it's going to look like in the secondary for 2025. Zy Alexander is your only senior in 2024. So you could return everybody. You could return literally everybody else in that secondary. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. The transfer portal will nab some guys. Some guys will choose to try their hand at the NFL draft. Well, that's just the nature of college football today and how rosters are built. So you're not going to return everybody. But the point is, DBU was built on blue chip talent from Eli Ricks and Derek Stingley And you could go on and on down the list from Kerry Vincent, and we could just run through the whole list of guys that were national award winners and All-Americans that went on to the NFL draft, if you want to talk about Dante Jackson, and we could go on. And that was Corey Raymond. And the bottom line is, since Corey Raymond has not been here, you have not recruited at the same level. You want to rebuild DBU, you do it with blue chip talent. It's time to do it. And we'll find out on the 17th here in 9 days if LSU takes a big step there with DJ Pickett, who, by the way, only has LSU in the race because of Corey Raymond. Okay. Look, LSU is also going to have to overcome the NIL budgets of Oregon and Miami. We'll see if they can do it. But if they do it, it's for one reason. And it's the guy that's the godfather of DBU. See how it goes. Okay. This is not going to please you. Phil Steele has updated his SEC quarterback room rankings. And suffice to say, LSU fans are not going to be pumped about this. We'll get to that as we continue here on Locked On LSU, your team every day. Brought to you by Game Time. As a matter of fact, I sat down to record this episode. I just got finished watching the Yankees lose to the Red Sox. Breaks my heart. All-Star Game is next week. If you want to be at the stadium to watch the Yankees and the Red Sox, you want to be in Arlington watching the Rangers or the All-Star Game, or you want to be at any big league ballpark this summer watching your favorite team, you got to download the Game Time app. Game Time, an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. It makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. So they got killer last-minute deals. It's a really easy-to-use app as well. Not just Major League Baseball. Essentially, any live event you want to go watch, you could do so at Game Time. So download the Game Time app. You can customize your spot. There's all-in pricing. There's seat views. That might be my favorite part. You don't have to guess what the view from your seat looks like. When you download the app, you go choose your seats. They will show you a photograph on the app of the view from your seat. It's not like a 3D rendering. It's a photograph from your seat. Really cool. Check it out in the Game Time app. You can take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the term LOCKEDONCollege, redeem with the code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So LSU fans aren't going to be pumped with my guy Phil Steele. And full disclosure, Phil Steele's been great to me over the years. As long as I've hosted my radio show After Further Review, certainly for the last half decade or so, Phil Steele has come on with me every single Friday of college football season to preview the biggest games of the college football weekend. And I think the world of him well before I ever got into media. I, like many of you, was waiting for May or June for my Phil Steele College Football Preview magazine to come out, because that's when it really felt like the countdown to college football was on. So revere Phil Steele. Well, Phil Steele always does his position rankings. Very high on LSU's offensive line, not so high on LSU's signal caller. So the thing that's important to note, though, he's not ranking the starters. It's the entire quarterback room. And I won't bury the lead. Phil Steele has LSU's quarterback room ranked 10th in the SEC. 10th. Now, hang on. I'm going to spell this out a little bit. So keep in mind, you're not just talking about the starter. You're talking about all the depth as well, all the bodies you have in that room. Number one should probably be no surprise. It's Texas. Of course, you have Quinn Ewers, who is a projected first-round draft pick, and behind him is Arch Manning. It makes a lot of sense why Texas would be number one. Number two is Georgia. Carson Beck is projected by many to be the number one pick in this next spring's draft. Number three after that is Alabama. I am not a believer in Jalen Milroe. I will wear that and own that this entire season, and maybe Jalen Milroe will prove me dead wrong. I believe he's a great athlete. I think he certainly threw the deep ball well last year. But my contention is, in large part, that's because his receivers were better than the other team's cornerbacks. And I could hit a guy that's open by 5 yards. I don't think that Jalen Milroe is the guy that's just going to stand there and pick you apart. We saw when he went against Michigan in the Rose Bowl in the national semifinal, and he was atrocious. So I'm not a believer there. Jackson Dart and Ole Miss 4. Of course, you got Walker Howard behind Jackson Dart. There's 3 teams tied at 5, and I'm actually okay with where they have this. They've got Florida, Texas A&M, and Missouri, all 3 returning starting quarterbacks, so I'm okay with it being there. This is where I have a little bit of an issue. So Oklahoma and Tennessee are tied for 8th. And both of them are going to have first-year starting quarterbacks with Nico Iamaleava, I don't know if I said that correct, at Tennessee, and Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma. Look, Jackson Arnold was a 5-star, and Nico is a highly rated guy, and they're really highly thought of signees. They're replacing veteran players. Dylan Gabriel out at Oklahoma, essentially so Jackson Arnold could start, and Jackson Arnold threw 3 interceptions in the bowl game when he made the start. I understand they're replacing starters, and just like LSU is replacing Jaden Daniels, but Garrett Nussmeier has more experience than both of the 2 guys that I just mentioned. So I would actually have LSU ahead of those 2. But the reason LSU, it's fair to say they're lower, is because after Garrett Nussmeier, remember, you're talking about Ricky Collins and then Colin Hurley. And that's the extent of your quarterback room. You know, Ricky Collins, who redshirted a year ago, and Colin Hurley, who's an early enrollee freshman. You know, we collectively, talking about LSU, are very high on Garrett Nussmeier. I'm in that group as well, as long as Garrett Nussmeier truly has purged the carelessness with the football, the bad decision-making out of his game. And he was able to do that in the bowl game. But that has been the bugaboo for Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, even last year in fall camp, I know I told the story, but we were watching a scrimmage, and it was a goal-to-go situation, and we saw, Garrett Nussmeier fumble a snap, take a sack, and then on 3rd down was rolling widely and just heaved one into the end zone that should have been intercepted but was dropped. By the time the end of last year came, he looked much more mature in the bowl game, and then we saw him this spring in spring ball, and he looked like he had amazing command of the offense. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be not only fine, I think he's going to be very good this year with LSU, with a great offensive line and a ton of weapons around him. But it's also worth mentioning with Nussmeier, in 3 years, Garrett Nussmeier has 219 career passing attempts. Let me put some perspective on that. 3 years, Garrett Nussmeier has a combined 219 passing attempts. Quinn Ewers, last year at Texas, had 296 passing attempts. The year before that, 394. So Quinn Ewers last year had more passing attempts than Nussmeier's had in 3 years combined. You just don't have – Nussmeier's been around a long time. Again, I think he's going to be very good. You just don't have a ton of experience there, on-field experience for Garrett. He's been in the program. He's a veteran guy. He's a great leader. He has the physical tools, the ability. He knows the offense. And all those reasons, I think he's going to be very good. But when you're looking at a ranking like this, I can understand why LSU's quarterback room isn't going to get the benefit of the doubt just because Ricky Collins and Colin Hurley. I mean, you are a turned ankle away. Now, I should mention, it's fair to mention, A.J. Swan is in this quarterback room as well, and he has started games at Vanderbilt in the SEC. So he's there. And it's obviously have to be mentioned as another guy. I think it would be fascinating to know if Garrett Nussmeier turned an ankle, who goes in? Would it be A.J. Swan or would it be Ricky Collins? Hopefully we don't have to get that answer this year. But as Phil Steele's putting that together, remember, it's not the starting quarterbacks. He's ranking the entirety of the quarterback rooms. That would be interesting to know what he would think about the starting quarterbacks. And for what it's worth, Garrett Nussmeier, his Heisman odds are ahead of a lot of the guys we mentioned behind just Ewers and Beck and Milroe and Dart. But there's a lot of reason to think with the way that LSU has had a propensity for great offense here in the last decade or so, certainly in the last half decade, that Garrett Nussmeier on this offense would continue rolling. So Phil Steele, not high on LSU's quarterback room, but as they say, that's why they play the games. Okay. It is Locked on LSU. I want to wrap up today with some great news for 2 former LSU Tigers, and we'll get to that as we continue here on Locked on LSU, your team every day. How about the Bayou Barbie? My goodness. Let me get to Paul Skenes in a second. But how about Angel Reese? On Sunday, Angel Reese made WNBA history. Remember, she's already been named to the WNBA All-Star Game. And I understand that by and large, America is not tuning in to the WNBA. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have brought a lot of eyeballs to that league this year. It's incredible to see what they've been able to do with a league that in a quarter century, quite honestly, has been irrelevant. When you talk about some of the ratings that Caitlin Clark has drawn, it's been the biggest rating since literally the inaugural season of the WNBA. So what they're doing is unprecedented. But what Angel Reese is doing that's more impressive is outside of just the personality. It's what she's doing on the floor. And Angel Reese set a WNBA record on Sunday. She recorded her 13th consecutive double-double in her team's loss to the Seattle Storm. She had 17 and 14. The record had previously been held, by the way, by Candace Parker, one of the greatest women's basketball players ever. And she did that, Candace Parker did, in 2009, 2010. Angel Reese broke that record in the first half of her rookie season in the league. Now, part of that, no doubt, is the fact that some of these women are getting bigger and stronger and faster and more able. Just the natural, progression and development of athletes. But also the fact that Angel Reese has done it so early in her career, is remarkable. She's now got 14 double-doubles on the season, and that's tied for the fifth most all-time for a rookie. The record, Tina Charles has it with 22 double-doubles. Angel Reese is going to blow that out of the water this year. So, for Angel Reese going to the WNBA with high expectations after a fantastic time at LSU, where she was a trendsetter and a standard bearer and leading LSU to its first ever women's basketball national championship. She's continued to carry that on and shown what type of athlete she is. So congrats to Angel Reese, already an all-star and already a pretty impressive record. Consecutive double-doubles, holds the WNBA record, and doing so in the first half of her first season in the WNBA. And then there is Paul Skenes. On Sunday, Major League Baseball All-Star Game announcements went out as far as who made the All-Star team. And this video, courtesy of the Pittsburgh Pirates. If you're listening on podcast, you'll hear it. If you're watching, you'll see it. My apologies. It's a terrible video edit. It's a terrible edit on my part, but this is courtesy of the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is when Paul Skenes found out that he was going to be an All-Star for the first time.
And for his first time, Paul Skenes.
And I'm just grateful for all you guys. Since the first day I've been here, I've been a part of the team, so couldn't have done it without you guys.
What a year for Paul Skenes. Almost a year to the day. July the 9th, 2023 is when Paul Skenes was drafted first overall. Almost a year to the day. On July 7th, less than a year, he's made his first All-Star game. Not only been called up, but has been dominant. He's yet to lose a start. And Paul Skenes has logged 7 or more strikeouts in 9 of his 10 starts. That is a new MLB record for the most such games within a player's first 10 starts. There has never been in the history of Major League Baseball a player log at least 7 strikeouts in 9 of his first 10 starts in the history of Major League Baseball. And another piece of history, this also according to the Pirates, Paul Skenes becomes the first ever in the history of Major League Baseball. Put some context on this. 150 years, the first ever number 1 overall pick to make an All-Star game in the first year after he was drafted number 1 overall. It's not to say rookie season, because you have guys that toil in the minor leagues, come up as rookies, and then make an All-Star game. But in the year after he was drafted to make the All-Star game, the first ever number 1 overall pick. So congrats to Paul Skenes. Congrats to Angel Reese as well. That'll wrap it up for us here on this Monday edition of Locked on LSU. Thank you so much for being here. We're entering our 3rd full week here of Locked on LSU. And man, I'm so pumped for all the growth and so much of the feedback we've gotten. So thank you for welcoming me here on back to Locked on LSU, where I was here from 2018 to 2022 and had the opportunity when Caroline Fenton moved on to Yahoo Sports, and a great opportunity to jump back aboard. I'm thrilled to be here. So glad to have you aboard for the journey. Do us a favor. If you're on your favorite podcast app, subscribe, rate us, leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button, and please subscribe to the channel as well, and tell a friend if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.